Good afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Lisa.
All right, we're going to call this planning board meeting of October the 4th to order. We're going to start with invocation. Pastor Mulberry, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am here.
Okay, could you start, if everybody would please rise and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? Go ahead, Pastor Mulberry.
Father, again, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love and kindness and for the multitude of your tender mercy. Thank you for this opportunity to come together for planning. We pray, God, for the wisdom that is necessary to move this city forward in decision makings. We pray for every board member, every person, Lord, involved. We ask for your divine presence to be with us. Continue to remember those, God, who suffered loss through this storm. We pray for them and family members. We ask for your divine protection and help, God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I would ask that you stand. George, you're in charge. Mr. Deloach is going to lead us in Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I changed it around without telling you. I'm sorry. Thank you. Have a seat. Ms. Krantz, would you do the roll call, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Owens. Mr. Deloach.
Here.
Chairman Killebrew.
Here.
Miss Rawls. Here. Mr. Barnes.
Here.
Mr. Wallace. Miss Wilson. Here. All members are present and accounted for. We have a quorum.
Thank you for. Now we need to do I need to do the appeals and procedure ex parte. Any person wishing to appeal any decision made by the planning board with respect to any matter considered at such meeting will need a record of the proceedings, and for the purpose may need for such purpose may need to ensure that a verbatim record of the proceedings is made, which record includes the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. Florida statutes 2860105. I need a motion and a second on the approval of the minutes from September the 6th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And now we'll move on to public comments. This is for the purpose of if you have anything other than the specific item that's on the agenda to make a comment to. Ms. Kitchens?
Illegal Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. My comment relates to all boards in general and yours in particular today. It's grossly unfair that the planning director has weeks and months with the developer or the applicant to prepare the case for you people, weeks and months to prepare. While the regular citizens, when we come to present our case, we only have 3 minutes. We have 3 minutes to present a case that could be anywhere from 1 minute long to 30 minutes long, to try to rebut the months and months and weeks of evidence that is presented to you from the applicant. So I would suggest that in the future, not at this meeting in particular, that you consider at least changing the speaking time from 3 minutes to 5 minutes. I don't think it's set in stone that it has to be 3 minutes. The Florida legislature simply recommended speaking to boards and commissions at 3 minutes. However, the Constitution says we have freedom of speech. So I would ask you to consider at other meetings, change the time at least to 5 minutes. I can get most things said in 5 minutes. I can say it in 3, but you probably can't hear it because it's too fast. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Kitchens. Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak, just public comments in general? Okay, we're going to move on to our regular public business. Ms. Walsh, I was looking for her. She's not usually sitting over there.
That's true.
Do you want to present your case of PB case 22-33 to request to amend the future land use map from the city of Palatka residential high to the city of Palatka commercial and rezone the city of Palatka residential family R1 to city of Palatka commercial neighborhoods C-1A, approximately half an acre.
Sir, thank you very much. As you noted, this is for 429 Kirby Street. It consists of 3 parcels totaling a little over half an acre. The city wishes to sell the property.
Excuse me just a minute, Ms. Walsh.
Sir,
Ms. Krantz, is there any way that echo is coming?
Ms. Neely can close the door, if you would, please, Ms. Neely.
I'm sorry, that was really messing me up.
understood. As I mentioned, the city seeks to sell the property. Because it's been vacant for over 6 months. It is required to revert to R1. The original zoning code, the use of it would be required to revert to R1. If that happens, anyone that seeks to purchase it in the future and use it as a community center would have to get a conditional use to use it as such. But in C1A, a community center or a private club or library is permitted by right. And so staff has recommended, excuse me, I'm looking for my recommendation. Staff has recommended C1A, neighborhood commercial, in order to let that use be permitted by right per the September 14th community meeting that we had. If it remains R1 and residential high land use, then that new owner, if they desire to use it for such a community center use, would have to get a conditional use. under section 94-141E5 of our code. As I mentioned, there was a public meeting held for input on September 14th. That input was taken and noted. Then we had the Historic Preservation Board meeting on the 20th. They recommended denial of the change to have it remain at RSR1 and our residential high land use. Staff will entertain any other questions you might have.
Okay. Anybody on the board have any questions, staff? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. This is Valeria Thomas.
Turn your
Turn the
microphone
mics
on.
on so I can hear you.
Okay, it's on now.
All right, thank you very much.
Anyway, so Hammock Hall sits right across from what? Is that vacant or is there a structure on it?
Immediately across Kirby is a vacant lot.
Okay, just vacant.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question for staff. if you
Yes,
don't
Mr.
mind.
Barnes, do you turn on your microphone?
Yep.
Okay.
So looking over the staff report, based upon our understanding of history, the site has never been used for a residential purpose. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's never been conforming to its current zoning.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any further questions of staff? Okay, I'm going to open up the floor for comments from the public. And we will start with Ms. Vissal. Did I say that correctly? Okay, never mind. Miss Lucy, how about we go with that? Okay.
Mr. Chair, while she's coming to the podium, if I may, there is a call. Is this on? Wish to open the floor to call in public comment. If
Okay.
not, we can advise the caller accordingly. Just let us
Okay.
know.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead with your name and your address, please.
Okay, Lucy Besnell, 819 Laurel Street. And I'm opposing, good afternoon first. I'm opposing the rezoning of Hammock Hall from R1 to commercial neighborhood, C1A, or any other type of commercial rezoning. The Hammock Hall location is within the designated boundaries of the Southside Historic District. And excuse me, but I'm real nasally because of allergies, so.
You're fine.
Which is a single-family residential historic neighborhood. Hammock Hall's location is such that it is entirely surrounded by residential homes. To rezone Hammock Hall to a commercial designation is not appropriate for the benefit of the surrounding neighborhood or the Southside Historic District in general. It's been pointed out that the neighborhood already has an existing commercial property which has had no negative or detrimental effect on the area. And this is referencing Duck Realty being located in the South Historic District and within close proximity to Hammock Hall. It also needs to be pointed out that the Duck location was commercial in use from the 1940s or earlier to the present. So its use, but was grandfathered in when the South Historic District was established and registered as such in 1983. In reality, Duck Realty is directly located across from the downtown Central Business District, which is across Laurel Street and the South Historic District. The nearby commercial properties include the Campbell Building across Laurel Street, a group of apartment buildings across Laurel Street and the Campbell Building, and the former Coca-Cola building, now Azalea Brewery, which is also across from the Campbell building. Most important to note, Duck Realty being located in the South Historic District is R1 designated, as are all the other properties in the district. Yes, including Hammock Hall. Our entire neighborhood already gets a tremendous amount of speeding, commercial, trailer trucks and others, which should not be allowed because our streets are not equipped for either the size or weight restrictions on these types of vehicles. We don't need nor want more traffic, more pollution, more noise coming from even more of these vehicles going up and down our side streets. The entire South Historic District is conveniently located to the downtown central business district, making it easily accessible for walking or biking to any of the commercial businesses in the downtown area. The downtown central business district is the appropriate area for commercial development. Changing an existing designated residential property into a commercial in a well-established residential neighborhood is not.
Thank you.
Could you understand me with all this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We understood you perfectly. Thank you. You're fine. Ms. Krantz, did you say we had a phone? If you want to allow that through, that's fine.
Thank you. And the number.
Say what? 523? Just dial it?
Dance.
Okay. So yeah. This is Ed Killebrew, Chairman of the Palatka Planning Board. You're live and on time. Tell me your name and your address, please.
Okay, hi, Mr. Killebrew. This is Kim Garrett.
Hi, Ms. Garrett.
2220 South Central Avenue in Flagler Beach. I thank you for the opportunity to speak. My family is the former owner from 1991 to 2016 of what is now Green Gables B&B at 603 Emmett Street in the South Historic District. My family has owned 110 State Road 19 South from 1977 to the present in the city of Palatka. I also have family members who live in the area and on property in the city. I will be reading from parts of City of Palatka minutes from 2001, the months of February, March, and September.
Ms. Garris, be advised that you've got 3 minutes, okay?
I know that, thank you.
Okay.
February 2001 minutes, page 216 and 17, purchase of Kirby Street Laundry. Ken Campbell, president, South Historic District Neighborhood Association, said they would like to use their tax increment funds to purchase the Kirby Street Laundry building. He noted the many people in the audience who are in support of this purchase. At last night's neighborhood meeting, this purchase was approved unanimously by 40 votes. They wish to purchase and restore the building, which dates back to 1909, and use it for meeting and events. This will also serve to eliminate a public nuisance that has plagued their neighborhood for many years. The purchase will be funded over a 5-year period. An amortization schedule was provided and filed. Mrs. Williams said approximately $23,000 will be available once the year's deposit has been made. Commissioner Brown also asked who would be responsible for the upkeep. Mr. Bush said ongoing costs are not tax increment fund eligible. With the city manager. Mr. Campbell said their association is prepared to pay costs of insurance, utilities, and maintenance. They will accept that responsibility. Mayor Flagg said this will require a written agreement between the city and neighborhood association. Mr. Bush said they will work on a long-term lease agreement, which will come back to the commission for final approval. Commissioner Edwards moved to begin negotiations for the purchase of the Kirby Street Laundry building located at 429 Kirby Street using tax increment funds for the South Historic District. Commissioner Azula seconded the motion. Theodore Tice, 426 Kirby Street, said he lives directly across from the building. He is concerned as the building is a nuisance and it's not historic. He does not want the traffic in front of his house, and this is not a commercial district. All right, now I'm going to skip through. I'm quoting Mayor Flagg said the buildings are not nuisances, but the utilization of buildings can create a nuisance. The association has done an outstanding job pulling this neighborhood together and has made many improvements. The building, there being no further discussion, the motion passed as unopposed. March 2001 minutes. Resolution authorizing purchase of Kirby Street. Resolution, the clerk read a resolution entitled Resolution of the City of Palatka, Florida, authorizing the purchase of a building located at 429 Kirby Street in the City of Palatka. Commissioner Zula moved to approve the resolution. As read, Commissioner Edwards seconded the motion. Commissioner Norwood asked whether the issue of renting this building to one particular entity without going out for bid was addressed satisfactorily. Mr. Holmes said he did not raise that issue on this building because the building is being purchased with tax increments funds earmarked for the South Historic District, and there's only one South Historic District Homeowners Association. September 2001 minutes. Community Redevelopment Agency request for allocation of tax increment funds. Southside Historic Neighborhood Association, Nancy Hendershot, 628 Emma Street, said they are using their tax increment money to purchase and restore the old Kirby Street Laundry and are ready to begin another phase. There is money left in their fund and they are requesting commission approval to allot $5,624.73 for building improvement and for $1,000 to replace 2 signs of entrance to their neighborhood. They have obtained quotes from designs for replacement of those signs. Mr. Bush said for the memorandum from the finance director, which was filed, there is adequate money in the fund to cover this request. Commissioner Azula moved to approve the allotment of the $5,624.73 improvements to the old Kirby Street Laundry Building and $1,000 for the replacement of 2 signs. And Commissioner Norwood seconded the motion. Commissioner Brown reminded them if they use up all their tax money now, they don't get it anymore until December. For the question, Mrs. Hendershot said David Church submitted the lowest bid for the work on the building. Mrs. Williams has a copy of those bids. There will be no further discussion. The motion passed unopposed. The minutes I referenced pointed to a number of relevant issues that were and are still occurring in the neighborhood. With commercial rezoning of Hammock Hall, more strain would be put on the existing infrastructure in the area, along with creating a whole new set of other problems. I and many others are objecting to any rezoning of Hammock Hall. There is no logical reason as to why commercial rezoning is necessary. The central business district is just across Laurel Street and would be the appropriate area for commercial rezoning. The proposed commercial destination for Hammock Hall is not appropriate for the surrounding residential neighborhood and does not meet the standards for a registered historic district. Additionally, it sets a precedent for the commercial rezoning in the residential neighborhoods. In closing, why does the city want to change the zoning of the Hammock Hall property? Thank you, Tim Garrett.
Thank you, Ms. Garris.
Thank you.
I've come back to Mrs. Kitchens again.
Illegal Kitchens, 1027 South Phillips Street, Palatka, Florida. For the record, the only part that was ever used as commercial was the Hammock Hall building. The 2 vacant lots were residential from the 1800s up until probably the 80s or 90s when the 2-story residential house burned down. So it has not all been commercial use historically. Rezoning Hammock Hall at 429 Kirby Street from R1 single family residential to C1A neighborhood commercial and changing the future land use map flume from residential high RH to commercial CON is not compatible with the South Historic District single family residential character nor the R1 zoning. C1A has a conditional use that allows multifamily use, which is not allowed under the Historic District guidelines, as evidenced by the Historic Preservation Board denying this request on September the 20th, 2022. If you allow the commercial rezoning of this residential property, you will be setting a precedent that has the potential to affect my neighborhood as well as every other residential neighborhood in Palatka. In the 1950s and 60s, there were 5 grocery stores, a birthing center, 2 nursing homes, a laundromat, a trailer park, an apartment house within 1 block of my house on South 12th Street. The owners of the house located at 314 Emmett Street came before you about a year ago asking for a rezoning from R1 to commercial to allow a multifamily use so they could put apartments back into their house. Even though the previous historic use had been commercial and multifamily, their request was turned down as not being compatible or in character with the purpose and guidelines of the historic district. The planning board must turn down the request to rezone from R1 to C1A and change the flume from RH to COM on the Hammock Hall property for the following reasons. It does not fit the goals and rules of the single family historic district. It would create a non-conforming use in the South Historic District. It will be spot zoning. The recommendation of the Historic Preservation Board was to deny the zoning and flume changes. It will set a precedence that will allow commercial uses to be put into every residential district in the city of Palatka, as all previously had some kind of commercial enterprise. It will be granting special privilege to the city of Palatka, since you previously turned down a citizen's request to rezone into multifamily. If you agree to rezone for the city of Palatka, you are sending a message that the city gets special privilege that the individual property owner doesn't. Also, the requested changes should be denied because of the following requirements listed under City Code Section 94-38, paragraph F1. And I'm going to read G through Q. It will adversely affect the living conditions. It will create or excessively increase traffic congestion with more traffic, as commercial always does. It will reduce light and air to adjacent spaces if a 3 or 4 story commercial building goes up. It will adversely affect property values, as commercial will lower the value of historic residential. It will be a deterrent to the improvement or development of adjacent property in accord with existing regulations, because nobody will want to build single-family residential next to commercial or multifamily. It will grant a special privilege to the city after denying the same for a citizen, and the city wants the changes only so they can sell the property. The changes suggested is out of scale with the needs of the neighborhood. Single-family historic neighborhood doesn't need commercial or multifamily. It is not impossible to find other adequate sites in the city for the proposed use. There's many other sites. The city only wants the zoning and flume changes so they can sell the property, as stated in their public record during the city commission meeting. And they also said they want to like multifamily. Q, the last one, the recommendation of the Historic Preservation Board. You have to take that into consideration, and they voted to deny. Please uphold your previous decisions on similar requests, uphold the guidelines of the South Historic District, protect other residential neighborhoods by not setting precedents, don't grant special privilege to the city, and refuse the city's rezoning and land use changes for the Hammock Hall property located at 429 Kirby Street. Thank you.
Thank
Do
you,
you
Ms.
have any
Kitchen.
questions?
Any questions, Ms. Kitchen?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is somebody playing music? Am I just the only one that hears that? Oh, it's out there? Okay.
You want me to tell them shut up?
I mean, I hear when everybody's talking, I'm kind of, okay. That's exactly what it was, Mrs. Kitchens. Okay, the next to come speak is Patty Vogt.
Patty Vogt, 220 South 4th Street. I had everything to say that they said. They took all my stuff, and now I don't know what I'm gonna say, other than it's common sense that you don't want a commercial establishment across from residential homes in a historic neighborhood. That's like a no-brainer for me. If you look back at the minutes back in 2001, where the city actually agreed with that by wanting to work with the South Historic neighborhood and purchase the Hammock Hall. And then later there was supposed to be where it was supposed to convert back to the neighborhood association. It showed that they understood that it was a nuisance, especially did when you look at the quote that Carl Flatt said, that buildings are not nuisances, but the utilizations of buildings can create a nuisance. And that's what a commercial building can do in the South Historic District. Unfortunately, I've been here 27 years and I've lived in all the districts. And that's almost half my life. I have not seen the change and the historic districts be what I had hoped they would be, and the time and the labor and the money and the dedication. I've not seen the historic districts in Palatka be cared about by the people who make the decisions, who make the plans for the future. I see a lot of short-term decisions being made by each group that comes in, and not any long-term decisions that truly affect the future
of what Palatka is. We have beautiful historic homes. We have the St. John River. We have wonderful people here, friendly, nice people. But it has not changed. And in some areas, I sold a house over on the north side 15 years ago for $290,000 and all the furniture separately. That house is vacant and been left for 15 years and it's rotting. And I see that in the South District. I see it in the North District. So for me, this is another bad decision. We are not Riverside. We are not Avondale, and we are not the land. I have hoped for that for 27 years. So I don't think that if you make this commercial, you're going to have a cute little coffee shop, because we're not ready for that yet. We still need to work on all the blocks in all the streets in all of Palatka and Putnam County and get them cleaned up and made beautiful. And then maybe you can take a building like this and make it commercial, and it will be a nice coffee shop. So I have no more to say because I had all my notes agreeing that it will bring the property values down. It will affect the lifestyle and of children, of families. I don't think that any one of you would want a commercial building directly across the street from your home. I really don't. I don't think anybody really would desire that. So I had this great stuff prepared. I worked on it for hours, but everybody beat me. So I spoke to you from my heart. This is what I feel. I've shown my love and dedication for the city for 27 years. I know a lot of you have been here longer than that. And I hope that you all take in consideration when you make this important vote for the future of Palatka and your children and so on and so forth.
Thank you, Ms. Vogt.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Barnes.
I put staff on the spot real quick. Ms. Lisa, she mentioned an agreement from back in 2001. I know you weren't here, where the historic district was supposed to inherit the property. In your research, did you come across that agreement, or do you have any information on it?
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Mr. Vito Russo. Vito, you have 3 minutes. Allegra.
Vito Russo, 415 Emmett Street. I'm the president of the South Historic Neighborhood Association. And I'm up here. We need your support. We need your leadership. Our town receives so much regional and national bad publicity with the recent gun violence that our community needs as much positive publicity as it can possibly generate. And there is nothing more positive to our community's culture, our image, our reputation, our revitalization than a Palatka Porch Fest Music Festival. We run one of the best Porch Fest music festivals in the state of Florida. We are better than Lincolnville. We are better than Sanford. We're better than Quincy. Only Jacksonville's Porch Fest could be considered better than us, and that's only because they have more resources than we do. The Palatka Porch Fest Music Festival is a beautiful community event, and it is developing. We are working to develop a multi-day destination event on par with the Azalea and the Blue Crab Festivals. And this is an editorial from the Palatka Daily News after last year's Porch Fest, saying Porch Fest has the potential to become a destination event. Hammock Hall Community Center and the 2 adjacent lots are critical to this music festival. Jacksonville Porch Fest uses Clutho Park. We use Hammock Hall. Without Hammock Hall, the music festival is going to be severely handicapped. We cannot push all these vendors out into the streets because these historic streets are narrow. They're only 20 feet wide. And we have to keep 15 feet clear for EMS vehicles. So you can't even put 10 by 10 canopy tents out there. So community leaders need to realize that without that community center, the music festival may not continue. And that would just be another blight on this community. Terrible thing. We've worked hard in that music festival. It's a beautiful thing. So we're asking the planning board to maintain the current zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. Alan Sheffield.
Good afternoon, Alan Sheffield, 512 Mulholland Park. My citizens have said it in an incredible way, all of them. My wife and I own the two properties directly across the street from Hammond Hall. And we just moved here a year ago. That was one of the attractive things in that community. And looking forward to what it could be. We heard at the meetings where the citizens had a chance to speak, how much they wanted that to stay as a community. I know you guys have to deal with laws and zoning, but as you've heard so artfully said here, speaking to the heart of this historic neighborhood and this city, what a turn a decision would be to this, and how detrimental it would be to this neighborhood to start it down the path of being a commercial zoning there. We need to keep it as it is, as used as a community center. I don't know if what pressures or other things, or if there's some other guiding principle that you guys have to go by to get it, because it hasn't been used in conformity with this current zoning. And so I don't know if there's something that requires you guys to make some type of change, but if there is that minute possibility that you have to speak or address something like that, then you need to protect it so it stays as a community center. I think you've heard from this community, you've heard what an impact historically this has been and what potential it has for our future. And so this can be a pivotal point if we're going down these types of changes and having our leaders more narrowly focus rather than listen and help us see this vision for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sheffield. Is there any other comments from the public? If not, I'm going to close this portion of the meeting and open open up to the board for discussion.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I do have the new letters that we recently
Oh,
spoke
yeah, I
about.
forgot about those. Okay, if you want to read those into record, please.
Thank you, sir. I won't regurgitate the letters that were given to the Historic Preservation Board, but they are a part of your packet and a part of this meeting by incorporation into the packet. So I will
Right.
begin by reading the new letters submitted to me as the city clerk. The first one is from Philip Leary, 6052 Silver Lake Drive, Plaque, Florida, 32177. Would you like me to begin the timer, sir?
Yes, please.
Dear members, I'm representing my mom, Pauline Leary, who resides and owns the home at 520 River Street, who is also a founding member of the South Historic Neighborhood Association, and opposing the future land use / rezoning application referenced above. One of the parcels includes Hammock Hall Community Center, and the other two are vacant and all are owned by the city. As a nationally certified land use planner, member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, the former county planner, director, and former Palatka City Commissioner, I find the application inconsistent with the city's comprehensive plan and land development use code, as it constitutes a spot zoning and is contrary to adopted planning and land use principles and practices associated with established low-density, single-family residential use and zoning. It would also set a negative land use and zoning precedent inconsistent with the neighborhood and nationally designated historic district. As the City Historic Preservation Board determined at their meeting last week, the proposed land use and rezoning change are inconsistent and do not meet the intent and purpose of the city's adopted land development code as outlined below. See quotes from section 5471, intent and purpose of the article. Protect and enhance the property values as a means of stabilizing historic districts and sites of the city. And 2, it is further declared that the purposes of this article are to retain and enhance those properties which contribute to the character of historic districts and encourage their adoption for current use and ensure alterations of existing structures are compatible with the character of historic districts and ensure that the new construction and subdivision of lots in historic districts are compatible with the character of the historic districts, unquote. The sole purpose of the city's application is to increase the property value of the properties by allowing commercial and or multifamily housing, completely disregarding the surrounding single-family land use, historical integrity of the South Historic District, and potential negative impacts to the neighborhood. Based on the above, I would urge you to recommend denial of the application to the City Commission. Sincerely, Phil Leary, AICP. End of letter. If I may, the next letter is from Richard Parallon from 105 Morris Street. And I'll end the other timer and begin this one.
Okay.
Dear planning board members, my name is Richard Parallon. I live at 105 Morris Street in Palatka, where I've resided since 1992. I would like this letter read into the record by Legger Kitchens. Let me begin by stating that the residents of the South Side Historic District have a compelling interest in the disposition of the property known as Hammock Hall, primarily because of its usefulness as a community center for local residents. Its value to those of us who live here cannot be overestimated. In addition, its location at the center of our neighborhood is of considerable importance because activity on that property would greatly affect neighboring homeowners and the value of their property, for better or worse, depending on its use. A change in land use and zoning as that proposed by the board would certainly open the door to a multitude of uses that would be disruptive or highly undesirable to those of us who have invested time, money, and effort into improving our South Historic neighborhood. Moreover, the proposed changes would only serve the purpose of introducing uncertainty, distrust, and perhaps litigation against a future owner whose interests are at odds with those of residents who have cheerfully established themselves in our town. Please understand that creating a climate which forces surrounding homeowners into a defensive posture serves no good purpose. With control in the hands of those of us most sympathetic to the flourishing of our neighborhood, much unnecessary anxiety and tension can be avoided. From conversations with several of my neighbors, one thing is fairly certain. The proposed zoning change would instigate and inflame the passion of a great deal of homeowners whose vision for the neighborhood excludes zoning changes, allowing uses consistent with R3 or C1 zoning. Perhaps an acquisition of the property by the SH&A could be brokered. This would allow local residents with a vested interest in the scope and quality of future growth to have control over the property and determine what use best fits the desires of the community. For this reason, I would like to enter into the record my opposition to the proposed zoning change and respectfully request our planning board to withdraw support for any changes to the current zoning until greater consideration can be given to this matter by those of us who have the most to lose from meager deliberation or impromptu decision-making. Thank you for your kind consideration, Richard A. Parallon. The last letter I have to be entered into the record is from Rita Yates, 121 Hotel Street, Palatka, Florida, 32177. I'm beginning the timer. Dear sirs, I am not in agreement with rezoning this property, quote, Hammock Hall, unquote. I've been a homeowner at 121 Hotel Street for 25 years. I would like to see the Southside Neighborhood Association keep use of this property to be able to continue Porch Fest, of which I host a band for. Our community needs to succeed enriching our city with this type of event. Sincerely, Rita Yates. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Let's not go with the mayor part.
Motion.
Yeah, let's not tell the mayor that. Okay, is there any further public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close this portion of the meeting and open to discussion among board members. And as chairman, I would like to start off that discussion with this. Mrs. Kitchens brought a point to mind that kind of bothers me with the fact that with the spot zoning, she's talking about things like that, we did as a board decide to not allow the owner of the property there on Kirby Street his rezoning. Ms. Walsh, I mean,
My recollection is that was a conditional use application that came before you to return it to a quadplex.
okay,
It was not a rezoning, it was a conditional use.
okay.
I just did speak into the microphone, ma'am. My recollection is that that was a conditional use application before the planning board, not a rezoning.
And there was also on the north side, I want to say, there was a house that was residential and they had it up for sale and the new owner wanted it to be a quadruplex and it was actually constructed as a quadruplex. And the board denied their request and they made it go back residential because of a recent death of a homeless person that was found in the home. So that was also denied.
Was that in the last year, ma'am?
No, that was just,
That was,
you know, if we're going back in history for this building, you kind of have to go back in history for a lot of other things. You know, as a board of citizens, you know, we're not elected officials. Nobody here, I've not heard one person say that they want this to be changed. I've only been to Hammock Hall when it was used as a commercial establishment for a wedding, for a political event, for the Porch Fest. I've never been invited to come and have dinner across the dining room table with a family. So, you know, I'm kind of, it should be commercial on the aspect of a meeting place, like the North Side Historic District would have a, you know, a building where they could meet and have meetings. The South Side Historical District can, you know, my hope that all the citizens would get together and maybe purchase the building from the city and then they can use it for whatever they want. But I don't know, I'm kind of torn.
Mr. Barnes?
To piggyback on that, Ms. Walsh, I'm allowed to ask you questions about the Historic Preservation Board meeting since it's a part of our packet, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, you proposed the option of rezoning it to a PUD to allow for more restrictions, being that if everybody wants to use it as a meeting hall, that's all well and good, but the current zoning, it's not a conforming use without the special use permit, which is never ideal. Well, what was their objection to the PUD? Did they have any comment? I didn't see anything about that in the minutes.
The objection was simply that there was a C1A zone attached to that. So it would be PUD/C1A. And you, as a board, could recommend restrictions on that PUD. The duck property that was mentioned also has a PUD/C1A zoning on it with specific conditions on what it can be used for.
Mr. Wallace? I just recognizing you.
Microphone.
Microphone, Mr.
sir.
Wallace.
I think to go to a PUD, it has to have a specific purpose in mind when we rezone it to a PUD, doesn't it?
Yes, if you're
Yeah,
going to
so-
add conditions, yes.
So at this point in time, if we took that route, which I'm not in favor of, if we took that route, we'd have to have a specific use in mind at this time to rezone it as a PUD.
Yes,
Correct?
yes, sir, you would.
Okay.
Um,
I would like to see, and in Earl's opinion, if Hammock Hall, I would like to see Hammock Hall and the vacant part of the lot behind it go to the South Historic District by whatever means. And the two lots adjacent to it, which are zone commercial now also.
No, sir, they're not.
Well, if you,
Residential.
I mean, residential, it's all residential.
Mr. Wallace, if you look at the notice of the planning board, whichever map you want to look at, the lot next to it, when you say the behind the building, the lot next to it is adjacent, it comes behind the building. It's all one big thing.
Right, I
Right.
realize that, but you can split pieces off.
Okay.
Hammock Hall and the area behind it I would like to see go to the South Historic District by whatever means. The two lots adjacent to it, which are residential now, I'm old, I misspoke a minute ago. They could stay residential and the value would be there for them. If it's commercial, I don't think the value is going to be there. And just Earl's opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Mr. Leach?
Let me just say, I was raised in the Southside Historical District on Davis home that's on 8th Street. So I have a lot of sentimental, a lot of memories there, a lot of things that are there, but I personally, and this is just a personal deal, I just think that we're spot zoning. If we change that thing, I think that it needs to stay where it is. And make a PUD deal and make it where north side and south side could meet there, whatever happens there, but to put a commercial entity where people come and go from everywhere, I think is a gross misuse of that building and putting people in that neighborhood that don't need to be there unless they want to go by and admire beautiful Southern architecture.
Thank you, Mr. Leach. Any further discussion? Mr. Barnes?
Ms. Walsh, why, to the best of your knowledge, has the historic board vacated the premises?
The historic board, sir?
It was used as a meeting place for the historic board, correct?
South
For the
District.
South District, excuse me, sorry.
South District.
Yeah,
I believe that there was no lease in place.
You
And
believe
the
what? I'm
building-
sorry.
The building has repair issues that need to be done. There was no particular lease in place, to my knowledge. And the city has decided to dispose of the property.
okay. I heard on a couple instances in public comment, I don't know the extent of, we got a lot of people waving hands, so.
I understand. We're-
Was there not an agreement for the Historical Society to maintain the building or?
I did not find one.
Mr. Barnes?
What?
This is Valeria Thomas.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Thomas.
There is no valid lease presently for the South Historic District to occupy that building. There are also some repair issues and some safety issues. So the building has now been cut off for their use and it is not being used. The city has taken possession of the building.
The city is what, Ms. Thomas? I'm sorry.
Taken possession of the building.
Yes, okay. All right, thank you, Ms. Thomas.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Wilson?
I saw a letter from Ken Campbell, which was the president of the South District during this time. Is that in here? I didn't see it. Is that in our package?
That wasn't, I don't believe that was a letter. I believe that was an email that was sent maybe to
It
all of
was
us.
an email.
Yes.
Okay, but that's not part of
I don't know if it was sent to,
evidence or it had information in it.
well, I don't know that that was sent to the city itself. That was sent to us as individual
Okay.
planning board members.
Sorry, my microphone's not on. It was forwarded to me, Mr. Chair. I apologize that I
Well-
did not print, but I'm happy to read it into the record if you would allow.
That's okay, but let me comment to that particular thing. My personal opinion to that. I don't see what that email had to do, when it was talking about monies and things like that, what that has to do with our decision as a planning board. Yeah, I mean, that would go as this, if, and I'm correct, and I think what I'm fixing to say is, as this all will go on, if we vote yes or no, it'll still go to the city commission, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so,
sir.
I mean, I think that's something that the city commission needs to deal with, not us. Okay. Well, I was trying to see if everybody was through talking. Does anybody on the board have anything else to say? Okay, I think I need a motion to begin with the future land use map from the city commission, changing it from residential high to the commercial and rezone from the city of Palatka residential single family to city of Palatka commercial neighborhood C1A. Do I have a motion? Mr. Wallace?
I'm sorry, Mr. Wallace, I can't hear you. I apologize.
Ma'am, I move that we deny, and I can address the reasons for my denial, but it takes in all of it.
Okay. If you would, if you pick one off that and just make it with that, please, sir.
Okay. All right, the zoning, C.
Okay. All right.
It's an isolated spot zoning, which we've tried to prevent every way we can.
Yes, sir. Okay. Is that have a second? Ms. Wilson, second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion to deny it has passed unanimously. Think we need anything else?
Yes,
I don't need the second if I've already done the first, do it.
First one died.
As the first one dies, the second one dies.
If I may recap, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I took down motion by Mr. Wallace to deny the rezoning as spot zoning. That would technically have been the second motion you would have took, sir.
I'm sorry?
You made a comment that if you denied the first one, you denied the second one. Technically, that was the second one before the board.
Oh,
Yes.
Say again. Well, whichever one we had up at that time.
I thought we were-
Do it in 3 pieces, right?
yeah, well, we only had 2 on this one. So I
Oh,
thought,
2
we
pieces.
only did the first. That was the zoning. What else did we need to do?
The first one would be the land use.
Earl's
sir.
motion was to
Future.
deny the zoning,
Right.
which needs to be handled second.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
He needs to amend his motion.
Let me,
It's already been passed. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Valeria, but I would say I would defer to Ms. Valeria.
I agree. It's already been passed. Just go to the land use and
Pass the flume and leave
again,
the rezoning motion stand.
Okay, I'm on paperwork here. I didn't see, I got ahead of myself, I assume. Well, no, that was the first thing on my paperwork. Right.
Earl said zoning, not future.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. You want
So
to,
I move that we deny the future land use.
yeah, amend your motion? Okay.
And do you have a reason, sir?
Ma'am?
Do you have a reason, sir?
Let me, same one, but see, to me, the reasons, they're intermingled. I don't want, it's gonna come up for the spot zoning, and I'm gonna move that we deny that too. Get the G, adversely influence living conditions in the neighborhood. H, create too much traffic. K, proposed change will adversely affect property values in the adjacent areas.
Okay, thank you.
One of those has got to cover the future land use.
Ms. Wilson, do you agree with the amendment? You said you seconded? Okay, thank you. Do we need to, we don't need to revisit that. Do we vote on that again as amended? Yes, we do. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Amendment passes unanimously. I thought we just done it dead. It's all, if you get the first one, the second one's dead. I thought we just amended it for that reason. Okay. Okay, well, I'm just going by, y'all confuse me each meeting. I mean, yeah, we do one, then we do the other. Okay, so now we need to My mic is, oh,
Chair Killebrew, I apologize. I again would defer to Ms. Thomas, but I took down a motion by Mr. Wallace to deny the zoning as spot zoning. It was seconded by Ms. Wilson, motion passed unanimously. Then we went back into the first one, being it was skipped. Motion by Mr. Wallace to deny the future land use map. Second by Ms. Wilson, motion passed unanimously. So there's been a motion regarding
I
both
thought
matters
so.
before the
I
board.
thought so.
So
I
we just
agree,
did 'em
so
backwards,
yeah.
You did it
but
I was
backwards, yeah.
confused.
Yeah, but it's good.
It's fine.
Yes, Ms.
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes, it's fine. I mean, everything has been passed. You.
Okay. I
considered
thought I was
each of the
right.
motions. Okay.
That doesn't happen often, so. My wife
Doing
tells me
very,
that all the
you're doing
time.
very well, Chair Killebrew.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. She said everything was good. Okay, so Ms. Walsh, I will defer back to you. Do you have any comments? We're back to staff comments.
I do not, sir.
Okay. Anybody on the board would like to make a comment?
Make a comment to the South Side Historic District. Get yourselves together. Go to a loan officer. Purchase that building from the city and have your meetings there. And well, that's my suggestion. If we're gonna.
You're fine,
maintain it-
Leader.
If we're gonna maintain it and build the areas that Mrs. Vogt was talking
I
about.
would just caution anybody who's speaking that they should come to the microphones and identify themselves so that Ms. Krantz can have the record correct.
Yes, Ms. Thomas, that was Ms. What's your name? Sorry. Rawls, Mrs. Rawls. That was Ms. Rawls speaking.
You know, if we're gonna build our community as residents, and we're gonna develop certain historic areas that we love and that people can come visit and maintain the property values, because we have people moving in here that are gonna invest. We have people that have been investing in years in our community. And, you know, if we love it and cherish it so much, we need to hold on to these things. The city doesn't need to be owning property and not paying taxes on it. You know, the residents need to own it. We need to get the government, push the government out of our neighborhoods and develop and create, you know, our landscapes like we want to, you know. That's just my opinion.
Ms. Rawls, I want to apologize to you. Your name did really leave my mind at that point, okay? Yes, Mr. Morris.
Piggybacking on that, the current zoning is not proper for y'all's intended use, so we need to come up with a plan for that as well.
Mr. Wallace?
I think the current zoning is good for conditional use for that purpose, correct?
That is correct. It would have to go through a conditional use process,
Right,
yes.
so the zoning is okay for it. You just need, it's an allowed conditional use under that zoning to be a community center or whatever you want to call it.
I just want to say, put my 2 cents in this, that saying that I'm an avid, Mr. Russo, I'm a supporter of the Porch Fest. I think it's a great thing for that community. My family and I, we come down each year. We actually sponsor a porch with our business. And we come down each year and enjoy just spending the day listening to music. I mean, y'all have a beautiful community. It is everything you've said it is, and it can be better, you know? So with that, I'm just gonna close the meeting. Vito, I mean, I know you've got something you're sitting on right there wanting to say, but I mean, what you've done, I mean, what y'all have done, we've got this part of it closed. It's got to go to the city commission. And, you know, I wish y'all luck. Thank you. Oh, I needed a motion. You're right. Sorry. Ms. Rawls made a motion to